Before all corruption, before the blood of giants stained the earth, there was balance. The sun moved in perfect rhythm, the stars knew their paths, and earth, untouched by wickedness, waited. The winds whispered in harmony, the waters knew their bounds, and the spirits that governed the skies obeyed their appointed courses. But in the days of peace, something stirred in the heights above. There were those among the high ones, beings born not of flesh but of flame and order, who beheld the daughters of earth. They were called the Watchers. They were not gods, they were not demons. They were those set to observe, never to interfere. But desire grew in them like fire, a fire that would not be quenched. In the days when the children of men had multiplied, the daughters of earth were radiant in form and grace, and one by one the Watchers descended, not by order, not by permission, but by oath, a pact forged in defiance. Upon the summit of Mount Hermon, 200 of them gathered, led by their captain Semjaza, and they swore one to another, saying, "Let us bind ourselves with an oath and not turn back. Let none of us alone bear the blame for this deed." So they bound themselves under curse and took the oath. And they descended upon the earth in the days of Jared, the son of Mahalalel. And they took for themselves wives, choosing whomever they desired. And they taught them what was never meant for men to know. And they taught them the art of cutting roots and binding spirits, the movements of the stars, the signs of the moon, the secrets of weapons and war. Azazel taught men to forge swords and knives, and to fashion shields and breastplates. He revealed how to craft ornaments, bracelets, rings, and precious stones, adorning the flesh with vanity. Semjaza taught the enchantments, Armoros, the loosening of spells, Barakijal, the signs of lightning, Kokabiel, the pathways of the stars, and many others, each revealing what was never meant for flesh to hold. And with this forbidden wisdom came hunger, and with hunger came blood. From the union of the Watchers and the daughters of earth came giants, beings of towering size and untamed rage. They devoured the labor of men, and when the earth could no longer sustain them, they turned on mankind. These were the Nephilim, born not of earth, nor of heaven, but of a broken law. They consumed all they found, and they taught bloodshed, and the earth cried out beneath their feet. And then came the cries. The earth, wounded and stained, raised her voice to the heavens. The souls of the slain cried out for justice. The trees bent with sorrow, the waters trembled beneath the weight of corruption. And in the high places, the spirits of the stars took notice. Who has done this? Who has turned order to ruin? Who dares teach the secrets of heaven to the sons of clay? And the Most High, the Eternal One, who sees all, heard it. He summoned the Holy Ones, spirits who had not fallen, those who remained loyal, and to them he gave a task. Go, descend, bear witness, and pronounce judgment. And from among the holy ones, the name of Enoch was spoken, a scribe, a watcher of the Watchers, a man who walked with spirit, though born of flesh. He was chosen not because of strength, but because of silence, because he listened. The Most High called him out from among men, and he said, Enoch, son of Jared, rise. The earth is stained, the heavens rage, and you shall speak between them. And in the stillness of night, Enoch was taken. Upward he moved, through veils of wind and fire, through the firmaments, past stars that sang and mountains that breathed light. And he stood before the Watchers, not those who fell, but those who remained. Their forms were like flame wrapped in voice. Their eyes held the records of all things, and they looked upon him, the mortal, and did not speak, for it was not time. Then a voice came, not as sound, but as truth. Behold the sins of the watchers, and he was shown what they had done, their descent, their unions, the giants, the secrets given, the blood spilled, and the earth crying out beneath it all. And the voice said, You shall write these things, you shall declare their end, and they shall hear your words, but not escape them. And Enoch bowed, and he returned, carrying the judgment of the Most High, and his face was not the same. He walked among men, but they turned from him, for he bore the words they feared to hear. And then came the day he was called to speak, not to men, not to kings, but to the watchers themselves, those who fell, and those who now awaited their sentence. And Enoch stood before them, the watchers who had fallen, not in war, not in rebellion, but in desire. They had descended in beauty, but now they sat in shame. Once luminous, they now wore the sorrow of the earth itself. And Enoch said to them, You will have no peace. A great sentence has gone forth against you. You shall be bound in chains beneath the hills of the earth. You shall not rise again until the day of the great judgment. Your children, the giants, shall perish, and you shall witness it. Then they rose and begged him. They said, Intercede for us, Enoch. We did not understand what we had done. Our children, do they deserve to die? But their voices were like wind on stone. Enoch did not answer. He departed from them and went to the waters of Dan, near the west of Hermon. There he waited and prayed. And a dream came to him in the night, a vision of destruction, of the earth breaking open, of the sons of the watchers battling one another, of a flood that would cover all. And he awoke with trembling hands, and he wrote it down, every word. The dream was no dream. It was a record, a sentence, a beginning, and an end. He returned to the watchers once more, and they looked to him with pleading eyes. But his voice was no longer his own. It carried weight, it carried decree. Not for you is forgiveness written. You have shown the stars to those who walk. You have unsealed the gates. And the watchers wept, not for themselves, but for their children. For they knew now what they had birthed, and that even they could not stop it. And Enoch turned from them and went out alone. His task was not yet complete, for he had more to see, more to be shown, and a great journey still lay ahead. And so Enoch was lifted once more, not in body, but in vision. His feet left the earth, yet the dust of it clung to his soul. He was drawn upward, not by wings nor chariot, but by purpose. For what he had seen was only the beginning, and the heavens had more to show. And the angels brought him to the first heaven, a realm of winds and storehouses. He saw great treasuries of snow and hail, of clouds that obeyed command, of winds that circled like dancers in waiting. All things moved with instruction. Nothing was out of place. Then they took him higher, to the place where stars are kept, and he saw the spirits of celestial bodies, each one waiting for its season, each one fixed by oath. And there was no chaos among them, only obedience. And they showed him the path of the moon, how it waxes and wanes with purpose, how it governs tides and times, and how all things under the sky are counted by it. And he was brought yet again higher, to the fifth heaven. And there he saw a place of silence, angels in mourning, watchers who had not fallen fully, but had been suspended in waiting. They were neither condemned nor free. And Enoch asked, Who are these? And the angel said, These are the ones who hesitated, who neither descended nor remained, and now they wait for judgment or mercy. And from there he was taken to see the firm foundation of earth itself, the pillars of creation, the anchors of time, the roots of mountain and sea. And he saw how all things were held in tension, a balance forged in eternity. And the angel said, "This is the world they tried to alter. They taught men to rule the surface, but had no knowledge of the depths. And so they brought imbalance. And now correction must come." Then the angel said to Enoch, "Now you shall see what must become of their sons. The Nephilim, the giants born of sin, will fall by each other's hands, for no place shall remain for them upon the earth." And Enoch was shown the end of their kind. The giants turned against their own kin, brother against brother. Rage devoured them. Their strength, once feared, became their curse, and their cries shook the sky. Enoch saw their bones left uncovered. He saw the earth drink their blood, and no one mourned them, for they had become monsters, children of pride, seeds of violence. And Enoch asked the angel, "What becomes of their spirits?" And the angel replied, "They shall roam the earth, restless, violent, unsatisfied. They will hunger for bodies and whisper to men in the dark. These are the evil spirits upon the earth," said the angel. "They were not born of heaven, nor meant for flesh, and they shall trouble mankind until the final day." And Enoch's heart grew heavy, for he saw that the seed of chaos would not end with the giants, that even after the watchers were bound and the flood had come, evil would still have its voice, a voice without form, a hunger without rest. Then the angel turned to Enoch and said, "The time approaches. Return now and write all you have seen, for you were chosen to bear witness, not to stop the fire, but to name it." And Enoch descended once more, but not as before. His spirit bore the burden of revelation, his hand trembled with divine memory, and the earth awaited his return. And Enoch wrote all that he had seen, not with pride, not with fear, but with the stillness of one who knows the fire has already been lit. Upon tablets and scrolls he recorded it, the descent of the watchers, the rise of their sons, the judgment past. He wrote not for kings, not for priests, but for those who would come after, for the distant generations, for the ones who would forget what once was, and wonder why the earth trembled. And he spoke to those yet unborn, "I write these things not for my time, but for yours. The watchers sinned in the days before the flood, and their legacy still lingers. Open your eyes, trace the stars, mark the shadows, and remember what was lost." And word of Enoch spread. Some mocked him, others feared him, but all knew he had seen something. He did not speak often, but when he did, the earth seemed to listen, and the watchers, those who remained imprisoned, heard his words. Though bound beneath the earth, their spirits stirred, for they knew the names he had written and the judgments he had sealed. And when Enoch finished the last line of the vision, the wind outside fell silent, the sky above stood still. Even the birds did not sing, for something had been spoken that would not be undone. Then the angel returned to him once more, the same one who had guided him through fire and star. And he said, "Your task is nearly finished. You have seen the roots, now you shall see the end. Come." And once more Enoch was lifted, not into the heavens of beauty, but into the realms of judgment. For the final visions were waiting, and the end of the watchers was near. And the angel brought Enoch into a place of thunder, not chaos, but order wrapped in judgment. The sky rumbled with voices not of men, nor of stars, but of decrees. And there he saw the fate of the watchers, bound in darkness. Beneath the mountains they would be cast, in deep hollows, sealed until the day of judgment. No light would reach them, no voice would comfort them. They would be forgotten until the end. And their leader, Azazel, who had taught men the art of weapons and war, he would be cast into the wilderness, his name erased from the tongues of the just. His crime was too great. and the earth itself would be cleansed, for the blood of the innocent had soaked too deep. The roots of the mountains had heard the cries, and the heavens could no longer look away, and so the flood was prepared. But before the flood would come, the sons of men were given one last message, one last warning. Through Enoch, and through his son's son, who would build an ark. And Enoch was shown the face of the one who would carry life through the storm, a man of purity, a seed untouched by the watchers, and from him a new line would rise. And Enoch wept, not for the flood, but for what was lost long before the waters came, the wisdom abused, the beauty corrupted, the stars that fell not in fire, but in choice. Then the angel said, "You have seen it all, Son of Man. You shall return once more, and your days shall end in peace. But your words will not die, for what is written cannot be unwritten." And so Enoch was returned to earth, but he was no longer as he had been. His eyes held the stillness of stars. His voice carried the weight of judgment, and the ground beneath him seemed to hush when he passed. He had seen the beginning of the end. He spoke little. He wrote more. Every vision, every decree, every name of the fallen, etched in stone, sealed in bark, pressed into scrolls that would not burn. He left them in caves, in mountains, beneath roots and rivers, hidden but waiting. And then the voice came again, not with thunder, not with flame, but with peace. "Enoch, your task is complete. Come." And he was taken, not by death, not by violence, but by invitation. He vanished without a trace, for heaven had claimed him, and the earth was left behind. The watchers were bound, the Nephilim were slain, the prophecies were sealed, but the flood had not yet come. The people of earth carried on, ignorant of what approached, and the sky began to darken, not with storm, but with silence. The heavens held their breath, the winds grew still, and the clock of the stars began to turn. And hidden in caves, sealed in earth, the scrolls of Enoch waited. They waited for eyes that could read, for ears that would listen, for a world that would remember what was lost. And so ends the first part of the vision of Enoch, the descent of the watchers, the rise of the giants, the judgment sealed. But this was only the beginning, for what he would see next was the very structure of the universe itself.